Hello everyone, welcome back. So today I am going to discuss about one of the most important groups of the plant kingdom and the most advanced groups of plant kingdom. Okay, so that is nothing but the angiosperms. Okay, so in previous video I have explained about the characters of gymnosperms and also about the classification of gymnosperms. Okay, so today let us discuss about the general characters or features of the angiospermic plants. Okay, so that is about today's video is about angiosperms. Angiosperms. Okay. See, as the name itself indicates, angiosperms. Angion means covered. Angion means covered and sperma means seeds. Angion means covered and sperma means seeds. You know that the phanerogams there are mainly two divisions can be seen in phanerogams. One is a gymnospermae, another one is a angiospermae, isn't it? So among what is a phanerogam, you know that phanerogams are nothing but they are the seed bearing plants. The plants which reproduce by producing the seeds, they are called as phanerogams, and there are two divisions in that. One is the gymnosperm, another one is a angiosperm. So we have completed about the gymnosperms. So then what about the angiosperm? So angion, the name, when we split the term, angion means covered and sperma means seeds. So what is this? Angiosperms are nothing but the plants which bear the covered seeds. Okay. So what is covered? So covered is nothing but the seed is covered by or enveloped by a fruit wall. Andre seed sutta enirutte ಒಂದು fruit wall irutte. So what is the meaning of covered here? So where the seed is protected by a fruit wall. So and angiosperms are nothing but the phanerogams with ovary. You remember the gymnosperms, allen helide phanerogams without ovary. They are nothing but the gymnosperms, but the angiosperms are phanerogams with ovary. So where the seeds are protected by the fruit wall, they are enclosed inside the fruit wall. That's why they have given the name for those groups of plants. So where the seeds are protected by means that is nothing but they are protected by means of the fruit wall or the ovary wall. That's why they were named as angiosperm, the plants which bear the covered seeds. And we know that angiosperms are the most dominant plants in the plant kingdom, isn't it? And they are the most diversified plants. We can see angiosperms almost everywhere. They are distributed in almost all possible habitats. Basically they are the land plants. Angiosperms are truly they are the land plants because they have all adaptations to survive in the land condition. Andre land alli survive agodakke ಏನೆಲ್ಲ adaptations ಬೇಕು, modifications ಬೇಕು, morphological features ಏನೇನು ಬೇಕು, everything is perfect in angiosperm. So they are the perfect plants to suitable for the terrestrial habitat. But they are not only terrestrial in nature. There are lots of diversification can be seen in angiosperms. Andre bari ನೆಲದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತ್ರ ಬೆಳೆಯಲ್ಲ. There are lots of habitats, different varieties of habitats for angiosperms because angiosperms they grow in water also. There are aquatic plants. Okay, they may be marine or it may be the freshwater forms. Angiosperms can be seen, and angiosperms they can also some of the angiosperms which are parasitic in nature. Parasitic means they depends on other plants. Okay, to get their benefits, to derive their benefits, or it may be the nutrition or whatever it may be. So they may be semi-parasites or maybe total parasites. For example, a plant called as Cuscuta. Okay, so suppose you can Google alli browse ಮಾಡಿ ನೋಡಿ Cuscuta. Okay, so where the plant without any leaves, it is totally yellowish in color. It means it absence of chlorophyll. There is an absence of chlorophyll in that. The plant is totally yellowish in color. It is just a tendrilar plant. Tendrilar ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ತೆಳ್ಳಿಗೆ ಬಳ್ಳಿ ತರ ಇರುವಂತ plant. So where it is a total parasite. And for example, the other plants like Belanophora, then the plants like Viscum or Dendrophthia falcata. So all those plants which are parasitic in nature. Okay, they may be semi-parasites or they may be partial, the total parasites. Okay, they may be aquatic in also nature. And even the angiospermic plants they can found above the other plants, in the branches of the other plants. You might have heard the term orchids, isn't it? So where orchids can grow as epiphytes, epiphytic plant. Epi means above, phyta means plant. It means the plant which grows on other plant, usually the taller plants. So this is how angiosperms are diversified. We can see various characters and modifications. Okay, and morphological features they can be seen in angiosperm, and also they are xerophytic in nature. they have very well developed character to survive in xerophytic habitat. Some of the plants, especially some xerophytic plants, suppose for example Opuntia, you heard about Opuntia, no? So where Opuntia is strictly a xerophytic plant, it is having all the characters to survive in xeric nature. It means at the desert characters, okay? Okay, so it is having all modifications, like leaves are modified into the spines, and the stem is thick and succulent. Okay, so very well developed deep root system that can be seen. Stomatas are sunken, and in some other xerophytic plants, stomatas which opens during the night. All of these mechanisms that will make the plant body to survive in the xeric environment. It means in the desert environment, or where the water scarcity is there. In such environments also the plants can survive. They can even survive in very cold environment also. Okay, so they can survive in desert conditions. They are found in water, they are found on the land. They can live as a parasite, they can live as epiphytes. Okay, they can live as cryophytes. Cryophytes means they can found even in the ice or in very colder environment. So this is possible only for angiospermic plants because they have that much of characters, that much of adaptability that can be seen in angiosperms. Okay, and the most dominant groups in the plant kingdom, they are nothing but the angiosperms. Okay, so as you know that the plant body here, it is sporophyte. The plant body is sporophyte. This is a dominant plant body. It means what the plant body we see, no, that is nothing but the sporophyte. And the sporophytic plant body is mainly differentiated into root, stem and leaf. Root, stem and leaf. The sporophytic plant body is differentiated into root, stem and leaf. Again, when it comes to root, you know that the angiosperma, the division angiosperma is broadly classified into two classes. One is monocot, another one is dicots. Okay, monocotyledonate and dicotyledonate. Okay, and you know the basic differences between monocots and dicots. So when it comes to the root system, so where the monocots are having fibrous root system, isn't it? Whereas dicots, they are having taproot system. So not only the two kinds of root system can be seen in angiosperm, there are lots of modifications can be seen in the root. Okay, so like conical root, napiform root, tuberous roots. There are several different forms of roots can be seen in angiosperm. It means the root is modified. Such modifications cannot be seen in any other groups of plants. Okay, but basically the plant has been divided, the plant body has been divided into the root, stem and the leaf. And even stem of the angiosperm is also modified. Some of the plants where the stem is underground, okay, that is what is called as a rhizome or a carm or a tuber, whatever it may be. So in some plants where stem is modified, it is thick and succulent, just like a leaf, or sometimes the stem is just like a leaf, performing the function of photosynthesis. Okay, and also even the leaves are in the angiospermic plants, they are also modified. They may be simple leaf or compound leaf. So lots of modifications can be seen even in the leaves also. But basically the plant body has been divided into root, stem and the leaf. Okay, I am telling brief about the angiosperms. Okay, so then as I said, the root system, it may be the fibrous root system in case of monocots, or it may be the taproot system in case of the dicots. Fibrous root system, or it may be the taproot system in case of dicots. Okay, and stem, when it comes to the stem may be aerial. In some of the plants the stem may be aerial. Okay, it means it is found above the surface of the soil, or the stem may be underground. Underground means where the stem is found beneath the soil. So for example, it may be rhizome, or it may be tuber, or it may be carm, whatever it may be, the stem may be underground or stem may be aerial. Aerial means it is found above the surface of the soil. So whereas the underground stem is nothing but the stem found beneath the surface of the soil. Okay. So and there are lots of modifications, like the stem may be tendrillary in nature, or it may be climber, the weak stemmed plants. Okay, lots of modifications can be seen. So when it comes to the leaf may be simple or compound. Simple leaf means where the leaf blade or the lamina is not divided or not dissected. Whereas a compound leaf is a one where leaf lamina is nothing but, for example, ಈಗ ನೀವು leaf ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ beetle leaf ಅಂತ ಇಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ, ಈ ತರ leaf blade ಅಂತ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಹೌದಾ? This is what is called as lamina. ಇದನ್ನ ನಾವು lamina ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಅದನ್ನ leaf blade ನ. Suppose ಇದು dissect ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ small units ಆಗಿ, compare just like the curry leaves, curvane apple ನೋಡಿ, where the small leaflets can be seen, isn't it? So such a leaf is said to be compound leaf. This is a compound leaf. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇದಕ್ಕೂ ಡಿಫರೆನ್ಸ್ ಏನಪ್ಪಾ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಲಾರ್ಜರ್ ಬ್ರಾಡ್ ಆಗಿರೋಂಥ ಲಮೈನ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಲೀಫ್ ಬ್ಲೇಡ್ ಏನಾಗಿದೆ, that is dissected into small units. ಇಲ್ಲಿ small units ಆಗಿ ಡಿಸೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಒಂದೊಂದನ್ನು ನಾವು ಲೀಫ್ಲೆಟ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ, ಬಟ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಲೀಫ್ಲೆಟ್ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಲೀಫ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಅ ಸಿಂಪಲ್ ಲೀಫ್ ವೇರ್ ಲಮೈನಾ ಈಸ್ ಅನ್ಡಿಫರೆನ್ಶಿಯೇಟೆಡ್. ಓಕೆ, ಬಟ್ ಇದಕ್ಕೂ ಏನು ಡಿಫರೆನ್ಸ್? ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿ, ಲಮೈನಾ ಈಸ್ ಡಿಸೆಕ್ಟೆಡ್ ಇಂಟು ಮೆನಿ ಸ್ಮಾಲರ್ ಯೂನಿಟ್ಸ್ like many small leaf like structures, and that is what is called as a leaflet or a pinna, and this is a compound leaf. Okay, and this one is a simple leaf. So hence leaf may be simple or the leaf may be compound. Leaf may be compound. Okay, and another character, the plants may be herbs. Plant may be herbs or shrubs or trees. The plant may be herbs or shrubs or trees. Sometimes it may be undershrub, or it may be under tree, or climbers, or twiners, or lianas. There are lots of varieties can be seen. Climbers means bully, so it gets the support of the other plants where it climbs up. Okay, it may be a climber. Or liana, as I said in the early class, liana is nothing but a woody climber. Okay, or it may be a twiner. Twiner means ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಪ್ಲಾಂಟಿಗೆ ಸುತ್ತಕೊಳ್ಳುವಂಥದ್ದು. It may be a twiner. Lots of varieties can be seen. Okay, so or it may be a creeper. There are lots of modifications. But basically plants may be herbs or shrubs, or it may be trees. Okay, so then when it comes to the vasculature, okay, the vascular bundles, here there are two kinds can be seen. In case of monocots, vascular bundles, especially in the stem, are conjoined. The vascular bundles are conjoined, and they are closed type, conjoined, collateral, and they are closed type. So remember, what is a closed type in monocot? Closed type means there is an absence of cambium between xylem and phloem. Xylem and phloem madhye cambium absent idaga, such a type of vascular bundles are what is called as a closed type of vascular bundle. That's why monocot, they do not show the secondary growth, especially the stem that do not show the secondary growth because of the absence of cambium. Okay, hence vascular bundles conjoint means xylem and phloem together forming the bundle. Vascular bundles are conjoined and they are closed in case of monocots. Okay, so I am telling about the stem. And whereas in the roots of monocots, vascular bundles are polyarch in nature. Polyarch vascular bundles can be seen in the roots. Polyarch means, as I said earlier, if two patches of xylem and two patches of phloem are present, such vascular bundles are said to be diarch. Simply 4 ಇದ್ದಾಗ tetrarch ಅಂತೀವಿ. So 6 ಇದ್ದಾಗ hexarch ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. 6 is maximum in case of the dicots. Okay, 6 vascular bundles, it means 6 patches of xylem and 6 patches of phloem, that is maximum in case of the dicot roots. But whereas in case of monocots, 7 is a minimum number. Okay, 7 number of xylem and 7 patches of phloem, that is a minimum number. But more than 7 is the common character, common feature in monocots. Hence vascular bundles are polyarch in root. I am telling about in root. Okay, whereas in case of dicots, for example, if it comes to the stem, the vascular bundles in stem, it is conjoined, collateral. Here also the collateral vascular bundles in stem of monocots, conjoined, collateral, and the major character is the vascular bundles which are open. Open means there is a cambium between the xylem and phloem. Here there is a xylem and this is a phloem, and this one is the cambium. Okay, there is a xylem, there is a cambium in between xylem and the phloem. Such vascular bundles are said to be open type of vascular bundles. So where these vascular bundles, they are subjected for secondary growth. You know what is secondary growth? That is nothing but increase in the girth of the plant body. That is what is called as a secondary growth. Okay, so hence vascular bundles are open in dicots, they are closed in case of monocots, especially the stem. And whereas in case of the roots, vascular bundles are diarch to hexarch. The vascular bundles, they are ranging from diarch to hexarch. Diarch means, as I said, 2 patches of xylem and 2 patches of phloem, and whereas the hexarch vascular bundles is nothing but 6 patches of xylem and 6 patches of phloem. Okay, it is ranging from diarch to hexarch. Hexarch is a maximum number and diarch is a minimum number. But whereas in case of the monocot plants, 7 is a minimum number. Okay, but more than 7 is a common feature in monocots. Okay, so this is about the vascular bundles. And when it comes to the particular elements in the vascular bundle, like xylem and the phloem, xylem is having all 4 elements. Xylem is having all 4 elements. That's why angiosperms are said to be the most evolved plants, most advanced groups of plants. because they have all suitable characters to survive in the terrestrial habitat. Okay, so xylem is having all 4 elements. What are the 4 elements of xylem? That is xylem parenchyma, then xylem vessels, trachea. Vessel is nothing but the trachea, then xylem fibers, then tracheids, trachea, xylem parenchyma and xylem fibers. So there are the 4 elements in the xylem, and xylem here they are having trachea. Remember, the other 2 groups of plants with a vasculature, they do not possess trachea. That is the pteridophytes and even the gymnosperms, where trachea is absent and vessels are absent, except the member what is called as a gnetum. Except that the other members of the pteridophytes and the gymnosperm, where the xylem lack trachea, but the angiospermic plants, they possess trachea in the xylem. Okay, that is vessels are present in the xylem, because when it compared with the tracheids, no, trachea are more efficient in absorption and conduction of water. They are more efficient in the conduction of water. They can carry the water to a maximum height. Okay, so hence trachea can be seen in angiosperms, but it is absent in previous groups of plants. Remember that. But other elements like xylem parenchyma and xylem fibers and tracheids, they are also found. And when it comes to the phloem, no, phloem is having the companion cells. Phloem is showing the companion cells. Companion cells can be seen in phloem, but these companion cells which are absent in the other groups like the pteridophytes and the gymnosperm, except the member what is called as the gnetum. So companion cells can be seen in the phloem. So that is also one of the most important character. And the very most important character when it comes to the reproduction, no, so where angiosperm they can reproduce vegetatively, we can see various methods of vegetative reproduction in angiosperms. Okay, they may reproduce by means of stem or root, or by means of leaves and even stem cuttings. Okay, they reproduce vegetatively also, but not all plants are reproducing vegetatively. Not all angiosperms are reproducing vegetatively, but many members, few members or many numbers, they reproduce vegetatively by means of stem or a root, or even by means of a leaf, and even artificially also by means of stem cutting. Okay, where we can grow the plants, we can get an entire plant. So that is possible. So vegetative method of reproduction is also present, but when it comes to the sexual method of reproduction, so where the major important character of angiosperm that is cannot be seen in any other groups of the plants, that is they bear flower. Angiosperms, they bear flower. This is the most and very most important character in angiosperm that cannot be seen in other groups of the plants. Angiosperms, they bear flower. So then what is a flower? A flower is a special structure that is produced in angiosperm that is specially meant for reproduction, that is to achieve sexual reproduction. Okay, so to achieve sexual reproduction, where the angiospermic plant, they bear a very fascinating structure, that is what is called as a flower. A flower is a modified shoot because it is a part of the shoot. You should remember what is a shoot and what is a root. A shoot is the aerial part of the plant body, whereas a root is an underground part of the plant body. A flower is a modified shoot. It is especially meant for the purpose of reproduction, that is to achieve the sexual method of reproduction. You can see various ornamentations in angiospermic flower, various color, they are differing in color, they are differing in size, differing in ornamentation. Some of them they are having fragrance, very pleasant fragrance or pleasant odor they emit, isn't it? So flower is a modified structure that is especially meant for reproduction. So that is the major character of the angiosperm that differs them from all other groups of the plants. Because no other plants in the plant kingdom, no, they possess flower. But the only plants which possess flower, they are nothing but the angiosperms. Okay, so they bear flower to achieve the sexual method of reproduction. Okay, so a flower in angiosperm is having the whorls like calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium. The flower is having the whorls like calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium. There are 4 whorls can be seen in a flower, that is calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium. Okay, so among the 4 whorls, the calyx and corolla, androecium and gynoecium, see calyx and corolla, they are nothing but usually the outer whorls of the flower. It means they do not actually participate in the process of reproduction, not directly, like they do not produce gametes, anything, but they basically meant for protecting the reproductive whorls of the flower and also attracting the pollinators for pollination. Okay, protecting reproductive orals and attracting the pollinators for pollination. So in a calyx antandre the individual units are what is called as the sepals, whereas in case of corolla the individual units are what is called as the petals. You know, petals are usually colored in nature of various color, whereas the sepals are usually green in nature. Okay. When it comes to androecium, androecium is nothing but the male reproductive part. Androecium is nothing but the male reproductive part. Andro, that refers to male. Okay, androecium is a male reproductive part, and the individual units are what is called as the stamens. Now androecium individual units ಏನಂತೀವಿ stamens ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. So ಯಾವ ತರ corolla individual units ನ petals ಅಂತೀವೋ, calyx individual units ನ sepals ಅಂತೀವೋ, calyx is the outermost whorl, next to that there will be corolla, next to that androecium, next to that gynoecium. Okay, flower ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿದಾಗ ನಾವು okay, so next to that outer whorl is calyx, next to that is corolla, and next to that is androecium, and the innermost whorl of a flower is gynoecium. Okay, so as I said, the individual units of calyx are known as sepals, individual units of corolla are petals. Then again androecium is a male reproductive part, the individual units are what is called as the stamens. Then what is the gynoecium? Gynoecium is nothing but the female reproductive part of the flower. Gynoecium is the female reproductive part of the flower. The individual units of gynoecium are what is called as a carpel or a pistil. The individual units are what is called as a carpel or a pistil, and that is differentiated into the structures like stigma, then the other structures like style and the ovary. The pistil or a carpel that consists of the structures like stigma, style and ovary. So all together what is called as a gynoecium. Gynoecium, the female reproductive part, and the individual units are regarded as a carpel or a pistil, and where it is differentiated into the structures like stigma, style and ovary. Okay, so where ovary, that encloses the ovules. Ovules are found within the ovary. Okay. So no doubt angiosperms are heterosporous plants because they bear two kinds of spores like microspores and as well as the megaspores. Microspores are produced within the stamens. Okay. So whereas the megaspore that is enclosed within the ovule, where that later that develops into the egg. Okay, and other parts in the ovule. So then when it comes to the pollination, pollination in angiosperm, it is indirect. The pollination is indirect. Indirect means, you know what is a direct pollination, where pollen grains they directly fall on the stigma purely by means of wind in case of gymnosperms. But whereas in case of the angiosperm, pollination is indirect. It means the pollen grains will fall on the stigma. You know the different parts in the gynoecium, the stigma, the style and the ovary. The pollen grains will fall on the stigma. They will fall on the stigma. So they cannot move further. The pollen grains with largest on the stigma, they are not directly falling on the ovule. If they directly falls on the ovule, such a type of pollination is direct. But whereas in case of the angiosperm, here it is said to be indirect. It means the pollen grains will fall on the stigma and the pollen grain will produce a pollen tube. That's why remember they are what is called as siphonogams. Siphonogams means they carry the male gamete. Okay, they carry the male gamete and the pollen tube only that will reach us the ovule. The pollen tube will reach us the ovule. Okay, because ovule is found inside the ovary. This is the ovule and this one is ovary and this is the style and this is the stigma. Okay, so where pollen grain will fall on the stigma, produces a pollen tube, and pollen tube enters through the style, then enters into the ovary, finally finds its way towards the ovule. Okay, hence it is said to be indirect, and pollination it takes place by various ways in angiosperm. It may be abiotic pollination or it may be biotic pollination. Abiotic means if it takes place by means of wind or water, means abiotic agents in the pollination are abiotic pollination. Biotic agents in the pollination are it means by means of the animals like the honeybees or the insects or the birds. Okay, like that. If it takes place by means of the biotic agents in the pollination are it is what is called as the biotic pollination. But it is indirect here. Indirect means pollen grain will fall on the stigma. It cannot enter further. It produces the pollen tube. Then pollen tube only will enter. Pollen grain will remain outside on the stigma. Pollen tube will enter into the style, then enter into the ovary, then finally finds its way towards the ovule. See, remember, a pollen grain in angiosperm that will carry, a pollen tube in angiosperm that will carry two male gametes. That is carrying two male gametes. It means two male gametes are required to fertilize a ovule in an angiosperm. two male gametes. Colon tube will carry two male gametes. Two male gametes are required to fertilize the ovules of an angiosperm. ಯಾಕೆ ಅಂತ ಅಂದ್ರೆ angiospermic ovule ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು egg ಅಂತ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. The egg is nothing but the female gamete. Okay, egg is nothing but the female gamete, and another one what is called as a central cell. ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಏನಿರುತ್ತೆ central cell ಅಂತ ಎರಡು ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. In detail you will study in second PUC. Okay, but you remember these things. One is an egg, another one is a central cell. Okay, so why two male gametes are required to fertilize ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ one male gamete will fuse with the egg. Okay, that will produce as a zygote. Aden formation ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ, zygote formation ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. Another male gamete will fuse with the, what I said, that is the central cell. What it produces? The endosperm. It produces the endosperm. The fusion of egg and the egg and the male gamete results in the formation of a zygote. And whereas the fusion of one male gamete and the central cell, that results in the formation of an endosperm. Fusion of male gamete and the female gamete results in formation of zygote. Fusion of male gamete and central cell results in the formation of endosperm. Hence, two male gametes are required to fertilize one ovule of an angiosperm. Okay. So, zygote that later develops into embryo, whereas the endosperm, that is triploid in angiosperm. You remember the endosperm in gymnosperm, it is haploid and it is pre-fertilized. Endosperm in gymnosperm, it is haploid and it is pre-fertilized. But whereas in case of the angiosperm, endosperm is triploid in nature. It is triploid in nature, and where the endosperm in angiosperm, it is post-fertilized. It means it is produced after fertilization. It is post-fertilized. What is an endosperm? An endosperm is a nutritive tissue. It is a nutritive tissue. This supplies nutrition for the development of the embryo. ಅಂದ್ರೆ embryo development ಆಗೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಏನು nutrition ಬೇಕೋ ಆ nutrition ನ provide ಮಾಡೋಂಥದ್ದು ಯಾವುದು? Endosperm nutrition ನ provide ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. It is a nutritive tissue that supplies nutrition for the developing embryo. Remember the major character that differs angiosperms and the gymnosperm in the endosperm, whereas in gymnosperm the endosperm is pre-fertilized. ಅಂದ್ರೆ fertilization ಗಿಂತ ಮುಂಚೆನೇ formation ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. And it is haploid in nature, but whereas in case of the endosperm is post-fertilized. Post-fertilized means it is produced after fertilization. It means the fusion of male gamete with the central cell, that results in the formation of endosperm. Hence it is post-fertilized and it is a triploid product. It means it consists of 3 sets of chromosomes. What is the major function of the endosperm? The major function is to nourish the developing embryo. So that is a major function of the endosperm. Nourishment of the developing embryo, that is a function of the endosperm. It is triploid and post-fertilized in case of angiosperm. Okay. So then, when it comes to the seed, what are the changes which takes place after fertilization? Fertilization ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಏನು changes ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ, so the fertilization that results in some changes where the ovule that get converted into seed. The ovule get converted into seed, and whereas the ovary that get converted into fruit. The fertilization that results some changes like ovule get converted into seed, and whereas ovary that develops into a fruit. Okay, so what is a seed? A seed is a fertilized ovule. A seed is a fertilized ovule or a ripened ovule. Then what is a fruit? A fruit is a fertilized or a ripened ovary. A ripened ovary is what is called as a fruit. A fertilized ovule is what is called as a seed. Okay. So remember, and also one thing you remember, the ovules in angiosperms, they may be bitegmic. Ovule may be bitegmic, or in some of the members it is tritegmic, in maybe unitegmic, or sometimes it may be ategmic. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಯಾವುದೇ ತರ ಕವರಿಂಗ್ ಇರಲ್ಲ, ಅವಾಗ ategmic ಅಂತೀವಿ. 2 ಲೇಯರ್ ಇಂಟೆಗ್ಯುಮೆಂಟ್ ಇದ್ದಾಗ bitegmic ಅಂತೀವಿ. 3 ಲೇಯರ್ ಇದ್ದಾಗ tritegmic ಅಂತೀವಿ ಇಂಟೆಗ್ಯುಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್. But you remember the ovules of the gymnosperms, they are unitegmic in nature. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಒಂದೇ ಸಿಂಗಲ್ ಇಂಟೆಗ್ಯುಮೆಂಟರಿ ಲೇಯರ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಅದು ಯೂನಿಟೆಗ್ಮಿಕ್ ಓವ್ಯೂಲ್ಸ್. ಬಟ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವೇನಂತೀವಿ ಬೈಟೆಗ್ಮಿಕ್ ಓವ್ಯೂಲ್ಸ್ ನೋಡಬಹುದು, ಟ್ರೈಟೆಗ್ಮಿಕ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಯೂನಿಟೆಗ್ಮಿಕ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಸಮಟೈಮ್ಸ್ ಎಟೆಗ್ಮಿಕ್ ಓವ್ಯೂಲ್ಸ್ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಬಿ ಸೀನ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ that is about the ovule. Fertilization converts ovule into seed, where ovary that develops into fruit. So seed, that encloses the future embryo. The seed encloses the future embryo once the seed falls on the surface of a suitable soil, where it germinates and can produce a new plant body. Okay, so this is all about the general characters of angiosperms. And you know, angiosperms are majorly divided into two groups. One is a monocot, another one is a dicot. Okay, so this is the general features or general characters of angiosperms. And you know the basic differences between the monocots and the dicots, isn't it? So in the leaves, where they are having, monocots are having parallel venation, and whereas the dicots leaves are having reticulate venation. When it comes to the root, you know, monocots are having fibrous root system, whereas dicots are having taproot system. And when it comes to the seed, the cotyledons, the number of cotyledons, based on the number of cotyledons only, they are divided into two groups, monocot and dicot. Monocot seeds are having only one cotyledon, whereas the dicot seeds they are having two cotyledons. That's why they were named as dicots and monocots. Okay, so this is about the characters of the angiospermic plants. Okay.